Welcome to the DNA podcast for the week of October 3rd. This is Doug from the DNA.
And this is Aaron from the DNA podcast.
I am by nature a dealer in words, and words are the most powerful drug known to humanity. Richard Kipling. Welcome to the DNA podcast again. This is October 3rd, 2015. Hopefully the future listeners will hear this and go, oh my goodness, what was I doing on October 3rd, 2015? What were you doing, Aaron?
Well, I'll tell you what, I wasn't doing a whole lot because it's snowing outside, Doug.
Snowing outside already in Calgary.
In October.
In October, okay. So is this normal for a Calgary?
Yeah, for the most part, unfortunately. But we have had a good summer.
We have had a good summer, yes.
A lot of sleepless nights in my new home because of the heat.
Because of the heat, okay.
You know, so, I mean, when you're kind of counting that in all the equations, it's not so bad. We're getting a little bit of snow, a little bit of cool weather right now.
All right.
It's Calgary.
Yeah, I get that. I always remember as a kid that it wouldn't really start snowing like crazy until Halloween.
True.
Then you had to wear a big winter coat over your sweet costume.
So that no one would actually see it.
Exactly.
They would knock on the door and be like, oh, look, a lost child with a coat. I should probably give him some candy and not call the police.
Right, of course, which doesn't sound like, like a crazy storyline for a horror movie where some person kidnaps children at all. But, that's regular Calgary trick-or-treating.
Yeah. Pretty much sets out all the pedophiles, rapists, and murderers.
Pretty
like,
much.
Hey, here it is. It's gift wrap for you. No one will know. Just wear a winter jacket.
This is true, but I know that we're going to have a Halloween episode. But until then, we're probably dealing with everything is pumpkin right now.
Yeah.
Everything. Lattes, muffins, everything you can think of is coming out in pumpkin flavor. I think I even seen a pumpkin Slurpee at 7-Eleven.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, it's
but
disturbing.
I have seen, Starbucks has been in that game for a while.
True.
But what interests me and what's getting my attention is McDonald's is trying to follow suit in the, exotic coffee world. And they're trying to keep par with Timmy's and Starbucks. So now they've got their own lattes that are seasoned and flavored and spiced. And I don't know, God knows what else.
Is that the first thing you think of when you think of it is McDonald's? Is I need to go get coffee there?
I need to get a latte
yeah.
from McDonald's.
A pumpkin spice latte.
Most people are like, oh man, shouldn't have drank so much. Let's soak that alcohol out of the system with the grease.
That's right.
And the goodness.
I wonder if
latte.
I wonder if you can biggie size that latte. Is that allowed? Get like my cider fries with it.
I would really like the latte, and I would also like to have a Big Mac.
A Big Mac.
Because that seems to go hand in hand. It's the perfect marriage, right?
Well, for me, the pop always cuts the grease, but a pumpkin spice latte, I don't know how that would work out.
I don't think latte, again, with McDonald's. That's bizarre to me.
No, but even as we're speaking, the viewers / not viewers, the listeners from around the world, of course, they don't know that you're drinking a Timmy's right now. So what's up with the Timmy's game and pumpkin stuff? Do they even have a game right now?
No, but they do have kind of these cool pictures in the sides of cups. Right now you've got the hockey rink because we're in Canada.
Right,
and there's this really proud dad who's holding his one child, but he's actually more emotionally invested in his true child who's obviously playing the hockey game. See how the wife is behind both of them and she's clapping. She's like, yes, I get to go out of the house. And he's like, shut up, woman. My hand is raised. I'm cheering for our true child. So, you've got that going on and a whole lot of, there's, drama. You've got the silhouette of one person walking away with a hockey stick.
That's very the Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't quite make the cut.
Yeah.
Right? It's a training camp. Oh, no, you got a PTO? Oh, now you're cut. You're done now. Bye-bye.
That happens a lot in Canada because we have so many hockey players up here that everyone wants to play hockey. That not everyone gets to play all the time.
And the girl is stealing the puck off the guy's stick. So
very
we've
politically
got
correct.
Yeah, sexual equality.
Yeah.
So this is actually quite the message going on here.
And she's wearing the Montreal Canadiens colors, if I am not mistaken.
He's wearing the Maple Leafs colors,
which again is very politically correct.
Yeah, this is accurate. If I was a betting man, if the Montreal Canadiens had a whole team of females. I'd still put my money on them.
Yeah, over Toronto any day of the week for sure. So welcome to the podcast. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, share on Facebook, whatever. We're going to be putting this out here. But what are we talking about today, Aaron? What are some things on your mind?
Well, I'd like to get into a little bit of the Syrian missile crisis.
Oh, that took a left turn.
Yeah.
We went from wrestling and getting to know each other right to the Syrian missile crisis?
Well,
not missile crisis.
not
I'm
missile
thinking
crisis.
the Cuban missile
yeah,
crisis.
that just took me back to high school there. I said the wrong thing. The Cuban missile crisis, the Syrian refugee crisis. I'm like, what do my notes say? What do my notes say? But before we get into that, because I think that is a huge turn.
But it is good. It is
you know,
good.
and it's something that's actually important. I mean, it's great to have fun, but I think it's cool that we actually get to have a voice and speak about whatever we want to speak about. And
I agree.
No one can say no at this time.
Exactly. We said that we'd come and do this, and we'd do what we want, and we'd say what we want. So, let's talk about some serious things sometimes too.
I do have a story that I wanted to kick off with, which is a funny story, and there's no way I'm going to be in the mental capacity to be able to say it after we get into the deep refugee stuff. So
all right.
I actually ran into you this week.
You did.
So I was having
unintentionally. It wasn't like a meetup thing.
It wasn't like, hey, I really wish Doug would show up. And poof, there you were. I was having a bit of a coffee date with another friend of mine, friend of ours actually, mutual friend.
Yeah. Good old Dave. Then we'll bleep out the last name.
That you almost said it.
Almost said.
I could hear it. I could hear it in the beep. So I mean, that was great.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it's like if you want to hear it, you hear it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm having a coffee date with him, and before we ran into you, we went to Starbucks, and I figured last warm day of the season because we are in October in Calgary. It's obviously cold and rainy and snowy, and all that kind of stuff we talked about. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm gonna get a frappuccino.
Ooh, okay.
I normally don't. I like to stick to my teas and certain type of lattes. If I'm going to go to Starbucks and spend $8 on a drink, it's going to be something flavorful. But hey, frappuccino. Got the strawberry frappuccino. And as I'm standing in line to get this, there's 3 people ahead of me.
Okay.
I'm literally the second person in line behind these 3 people. They're all one group ordering together, and they took 8.5 minutes. I timed them.
Oh, wow. So $1
after I came in.
Oh, okay.
So they had already been there.
Okay. Yeah.
In line, at the front. I come in, I'm like, great, no lineup. So I'm standing behind them waiting. Now the woman behind me is getting more impatient, and she's kind of socially awkward, I found out later.
Okay.
And she was pressed into me.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those situations where I'm like, okay, well maybe they're embarrassed, so I'll take a half step forward.
Right.
But then she matched me.
Oh.
Right? And I've had this only twice in my life where people have been that close. At least this was a short little old lady who was nice.
Yeah.
And we had conversation. She's just socially awkward.
Right.
But it took me back to about 15 years ago. I'm standing in the line at the airport, ready to get on a flight from Victoria to Calgary, and there's a full-grown male behind me. Now, I'm a minor, and this guy is pressed up into me where I can feel all of him through my pants. I mean, if I had coughed or dropped something, I would have had his child.
Goodness.
That's how close he was.
Goodness. He would have signed off on your physical, really.
Yeah. You're clean. Now cough.
Turn your head.
Yeah. Please. Like, if I had dropped something, even if it was my wallet or my passport, I'd been like, screw it. It's gone. Because there's no way I'm going to be able to recover from this situation if I have to bend down to get it. It just kind of had like a Vietnam flashback type feel.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd share that with you because it's interesting.
That's disturbing.
That's
very disturbing.
But what about you? Tell me about your week. Anything interesting? Did you get impregnated by somebody?
I feel like I should just be like, nothing happened. And that is part of the podcast while you take a big swig of coffee. Nothing happened 2 times. No, so yeah. You have to
just go back here.
Fill the air. No, this week I actually ran into you. I was going to tell that story, but you took it from me.
Are you crazy?
Maybe not there, Hulk Hogan. Or are we going to pretend like he's a person in the studio theater with us?
Please shut up.
Why did I give this control to Aaron? That's really brutal.
Keep going. Don't stop.
Whoa there, Hogan. Watch your hands. Come on now. Big leg drop. Nobody needs that right now.
Look, man, I made a mistake.
Oh, my goodness. How big is this soundboard? I think I've seen it with like 100 voices on it.
It's way too big, dude.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Oh, goodness. I can't even picture him. Now that he's cut from the WWE for making racial comments of sorts, that's pretty rough. You can't even download him as a downloadable character in the WWE video games anymore.
I think I heard different forums online that were saying that they actually released a patch with an update that if you had him as a downloadable character, they took him off.
Oh, wow.
Like, they went all out to like erase him from history.
That's very proactive.
But it sounds like with his public apologies and stuff lately too that he's really trying to make amends to get back in.
Yeah.
And I think he needs to.
Well, what else can he do?
Well, and I like him even if he's just an ambassador. It's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Like, there is no wrestling today without Hulk Hogan of yesterday.
Nope.
And I mean, there's no, even our favorite faction, the NWO.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen without him.
That's New World Order for all you non-wrestling fans out there. NWO's New World Order.
Yes.
Yep.
Not in the creepy last days on Earth before the rapture, the church type of way.
No,
but
exactly.
just this faction in wrestling that was ultra cool in the mid-late 90s.
They did some cool moves, some good finishers and such like that. It was pretty fun to watch.
It almost didn't happen.
Yeah?
Sting almost was the third man.
Oh, really?
That was supposed to be the leader, but it wouldn't have picked up, I don't think, unless Hogan turned heel.
No, yeah. Hogan was he was the one that made it all happen. Interesting.
Right. Plus, if it wasn't Hogan,
Yeah.
it would have been Sting, but Sting wouldn't have had that dark character to battle the NWO, which really propelled him again.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine Hogan being a good guy fighting against him. It would just be over. It would be the same storyline as it always had been, right?
Agreed.
Interesting.
Did you know that Sting had neck issues after that last match?
I heard about that from the buckle bomb.
Yeah.
After the pay-per-view. Yeah.
Well, the first one, it was two. Remember when he fell through the table?
Yeah.
And he hit his head on the monitor?
The monitor, yeah.
That was the first one that numbed, kind of opened it up. And he said he knew at that time. He was kind of slow getting up. He played it off.
Yeah.
But then he took the buckle bomb, the running move right into the corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Just cracked his head off in his neck, and it just lights out for a second.
So is he coming back or is he done?
He's not sure.
Oh, man.
But if Seth Rollins is the reason why Sting retires, I don't know if I can like him anymore.
Well, he busted John Cena's nose, so to be perfectly honest,
Oh,
I
so
think
it's
he's,
even.
He's equal right
yeah,
now.
that's not so bad.
Yeah, it's a win.
Oh, I forgot about
that.
that.
It's a win-lose,
You
so
pretty
it equals
much
out.
saved the world.
50-50 right there. I get that.
You're coming up behind Jesus in the way that you're impacting society.
Which is ironic because they definitely have the same look according to modern-day painters. That long hair, kind of scruffy beard.
Pretty sure Jesus has the same theme song too when he comes back.
That's right. Jesus does CrossFit too, so it all equals out.
Oh man! But yeah, I kind of distracted from what you were talking about. I'm sorry, went on this rabbit. So yeah, back to your week.
Well, we can't call it a rabbit hole because that's just
hole, trail, path,
twister,
route, less traveled.
All brings together. What did I do this week? I really should have thought of that before I started talking, shouldn't I? I'd had that entire time to think of something. I worked all week.
You did?
Which is a regular thing. I think everyone has that in common with me. Put that in the comments if you work every day of the week. Just for the hell of it. You don't even have to. You'd be like, why would I comment on that? Of course I work every day. Because there are people in the comments that cannot comment on that. But I worked every day of this week, which is good. And I hung out with my girlfriend, which was pretty fun. She's a pretty crazy, likable gal, so I get along with her really well. And what did we watch? We watched the season finale of Amazing Race Canada. Now, I hate reality TV shows with a passion.
Me too.
Yeah, they are scum of the earth to me. Big Brother, Survivor, all of those things, I just can't even get behind it all. But I actually got hooked on Amazing Race because they travel around Canada, the world. These Canadian teams, it's only Canadians because apparently the American version, they're only allowed Americans. So Canadians couldn't even apply for the show.
Oh, really?
So Canada
I didn't
made
know
one.
that.
Yeah, so Canada actually made one where it's just Canadians. And they go all over the world and, do a whole bunch of things. And the thing that I found was really weird is I did get into it because at first it was about watching the travel and seeing the different locations. And people try to do these challenges. There was a team of wrestlers, 2 wrestlers. And they were a team, and they were super agile and quick, and they were pretty smart. They always finished like 2nd or 3rd place the entire show. And I really wanted them to win. They made it into the finale episode, and they came in 2nd place. But to watch these guys do like dancing competitions with each other, because you have to do it with your partner, so it's like 2 giant wrestlers, like 300-pound, like 6'5" wrestlers, muscled up, trying to like learn how to tango, and then like these like 5'0" like Mexican people watching them and being like, "No, you didn't pass. Go again." And it was interesting. It was definitely really funny to see, and I don't know. I like that show. It was pretty solid. I would recommend it personally.
That sounds entertaining.
Yeah, it
I'm not
was.
gonna lie.
It got to it. I had to get over my whole bias of like putting up with random crap in reality TV, but it wasn't drama based. There was drama between teams where they just didn't get along, or
Yeah. Well,
But then I was sitting with my girlfriend, so me and her the entire time were like, we wouldn't do that. Of course, we wouldn't like argue about that one thing because that's dumb. Like that's horrible. So we'd like it gives you good like relational training also throughout the whole thing.
off the chain, Doug. Off the chain.
Off the chain. Yeah, and then we had our games night with Aaron and his wife, and that was pretty interesting because we played some old school game called Balderdash. Now, I'd never heard of this game before, but playing it, you can get ridiculous with it. And when I say ridiculous, I don't mean go to sleep at 8 p.m. after your warm milk and sugar after you knit a sweater. I'm talking ridiculous as in pretty messed up. One of my favorite ones that I should bring up, but I don't know if I should bring up. I want to keep a PG rating on the show, but Buttwink, Buttwink.
Oh, my God.
Did you know that was a bird? A buttwink is a bird, but in Balderdash,
Right.
everyone else makes up their own definition and gives it to you.
So we came up with a lot of different creative, inappropriate descriptions and definitions of what a buttwink should be.
Of course, and Aaron's wife, bless her soul, she had to read every single one of them out loud in a serious, straight face, so that she could, help the game out, and she did. She did. She was a champ.
She was.
Yeah, and either way, interesting game, old school. Some of the references are a little bit older than our time, but could be a fun game to play, that's for sure.
Anyway.
Yeah. You're right, Hogan. Time to move on to let's talk about this Syrian missile crisis. And it's not a missile crisis, right? Is that what we're going with?
It's not a missile crisis.
I think that should be the name of this podcast
like,
episode, though, is the Syrian missile crisis.
That's good.
I like that.
Can we write that down?
We can.
We're just going to have to, So if you're looking at this on YouTube or listening, it's already called this, and you're probably like, what is happening? Because I didn't know about that.
It's something they call clickbait. It means you
Clickbait,
click on it
that's
because
right.
you're like, what the hell is this?
Probably not even going to talk about it, really.
Well, because it doesn't exist. So, Aaron, I'm naive about this whole thing. I don't really watch the news that much. I don't keep up with current events as often as I should. What is the Syrian refugee crisis?
Well, I'm going to take you back a little bit, and I might go on a tangent.
Okay.
So, if I get in a role, come in.
All right.
And I've got so many notes here that I want to address because I want to make sure that we're getting certain elements right, and it's not just me talking from an emotional response to what may or may not be true.
All right.
Or what kind of items I get wrong. If I get some points wrong or like exaggerate certain things or go off in the wrong focus,
right?
That's great, but it's not really helpful.
Right. Okay. So we're going to stick to the meat and potatoes, is what you're telling me.
I'm hoping so.
All right.
And that's why I have you here.
I'm going to do my best.
Keep me on my leash,
All right.
One of the things that kind of caught me off guard, one of the stats says that there's roughly 10.5 million people worldwide forced to flee their homes as a result of conditions in their home country.
Wow.
Now, as I look at what's going on in Syria, this goes back a couple of years. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember watching, and my dad loves CNN and BBC and all the news. Now, they have this tendency to spin it to sell ratings.
Okay.
So they always tell you the worst about what's going on in certain situations because it gets your attention, right?
One thing I just want to jump in real quick. You said it was 10 million?
10.5 million people.
So just to give you a rough estimate, as of October 1st, 2014, the entire population of Alberta is 4.1 million. So we're almost looking at 3 times the population of Alberta of people moving around doing different things.
Because you have to.
Yeah.
Because your living conditions in your home country are so awful, you have to drop everything and leave.
So imagine just like, BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. All 3 of those provinces had to
simultaneously leave everything, jobs, security, homes, possessions. You grab your family because that's the most important thing.
Of course.
And you run.
All right.
With no destination, no plan, you just go.
Goodness. All right.
And what was interesting is, again, going back a couple of years, Obama's been having this back and forth discussion. And he's very against going into Syria, but there's some groups of people politically and just whatever. It doesn't necessarily depend on a political allegiance, but his stance was, well, we don't want to intervene where we don't have to, and I get that. And what was going on in Syria is you've got these group of people who are caught in the middle. You've got the rebels going against the government taking out the rebels. The rebels also live amongst the people.
Right.
So guess what? There's a lot of collateral damage.
Right.
They were killing them, cutting them down with machine gun fire just because they were there.
Right.
So you got women and children getting mauled down by the hundreds at first, and that was getting the attention of the world, obviously. But not a problem. Now, Obama did draw a line in the sand, which was very interesting because I thought there's no way it's ever going to get to that.
Okay.
He said if they start using chemical warfare, horrible weapons that have been banned in the last 50, 60 years, then we'll step in.
Okay.
But they started to use things like chlorine gas to kill big populations of people, which is a slow, horrible death.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not a quick thing at all.
No, and then you had the images of all these women and children in mass graves, families gone, probably dead, weren't able to bury them, just getting machine plowed into these big pre-dug holes and buried over.
Wow.
So, these are the type of conditions these people have been running from.
Yeah.
Right? And on top of that now, that these chemical warfare things are happening. They're using these weapons that have been banned
Right.
by the United Nations for God knows how long, probably since Vietnam.
Yeah.
You know, now you've got that to deal with in your home country, trying to survive with your family and make sure you're not going to get gassed because you're not living amongst these rebels who are actually standing up for you and the people who you support.
Right.
But now you've got ISIS on the other side. Because ISIS is around that area, and they're actually starting to come into the Syrian area, and they're starting to kill you if you have different belief systems or what have you. So you're just compounding the problems to the point where, okay, it is simply logistically smarter to leave.
Right.
And run away.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, that's the conditions.
So you've got to get to a pretty crazy point to get to that. There's no other options but to go.
Right.
So everything else has been exhausted. Everything else has been happening. Literally, there's just no other options except for stay or die, essentially.
Yeah.
Wow.
You could gamble it, but odds are you're not going to live.
Okay.
Because you're battling against your own government.
Right.
Who's supposed to be standing for you. And you're also battling against an oppressive army that's trying to come in ISIS. And you're still living amongst the rebels who are fighting for you.
Right.
But your hero's going to get you killed.
Yeah.
Now, here's another stat. This is from 2012, though.
Okay.
46% of that 10.5 million are children.
Oh, my goodness.
So almost half.
So we're looking at just under 5 million.
We're looking at still over the population of Alberta.
Wow.
Our kids.
Yeah. That's massive.
Right? And that's where I think it really starts to take a different turn for me, because if you've got this group of people that are fleeing for their lives, which they are, which is obviously the right decision. I would do the same thing.
Of course.
And half of them are kids, roughly. Man.
And those stats here,
there's a need.
You obviously don't mean like when you go to Chuck E. Cheese where kids can be a kid. You're talking like legitimate, like under 18 children. I'm thinking that's probably what we're talking about here.
We're talking minors. I assume from the stat that's anyone 17 and under.
Okay, yeah, but still, that's obviously like a big chunk of that's a kid. That's a child right there. So, even more than the population of Alberta is being displaced and moved again, it's pretty interesting. So, how does that translate over to the rest of the world? Like, why does anyone else care? There's been civil wars in other places. There's civil wars going on in certain countries right now that we don't even touch. You know, in South America, Africa, Mexico. You know, there's cartels, there's gangs, but this is different, isn't it? Why is that?
I honestly think it's because of the last stat. There's so many kids. I mean, if you look at what's happened in the news in the last little bit, there has been a lot more attention because I think it was a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, you had the photo of the 3-year-old Aylin, I hope I'm saying that right, Kurdi, the 3-year-old child that was washed up on shore,
right,
face down in the water. His parents nowhere to be found. He drowned,
right,
because his family was trying to bribe their way into a dinghy to cross a big part of the ocean to safety, and they didn't make it.
And did you hear about how much it costed to rent these dinghies? The people that are selling the dinghies?
$1,000 a person?
$1,000 a person, yeah. $1,000 a person.
And now that's American money.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
To third world people who don't have a lot of funds.
No.
That's a lot of money now. I mean, I pay it, of course, but if you don't have the money, guess what? So long, sorry.
Yeah, Pattons generally have big families, so you'd be paying a couple thousand, that's for sure.
Well, I just take the necessities.
Of course.
Dad, you've had a good life.
You'd pull the Tim Hortons and have your favorite child.
My dad would probably be paying for everyone. He's like, here's your ticket, here's your ticket, here's your ticket.
Yeah.
You haven't been very good. Not a lump of coal, but you're just not getting out of here today. You know?
He'd be putting out the fires in the background, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember when I saw that, though,
Mm-hmm.
that photo of this child laying face down.
Yep.
And just the anguish and all the people around. And that really broke my heart because these people probably didn't know who this boy was, but that moment was just an extension of their pain.
Right.
And their journey even to get to that point. And there's such a need, man. Like, I think later on this conversation, we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what are the two sides that people are seeing.
Right.
How do you view this as a black and white situation when there's so much gray?
Right, right.
And how should we respond?
Yeah,
which is obviously the reason why we're talking.
And we'll have some different opinions on this for sure, because you are coming at it from, you know, your personal point of view. You also got the spirituality behind you. I myself, I've worked in politics before. I'm not obviously on a national crisis level, but sometimes, unfortunately, I see things that are the greater good. And I'm not saying that that's what I know about this or I don't know about this, but there are going to be times when we don't agree on things, and we have to discuss them out on this show. But good thing is we're not a couple, so we don't have to go home at the end of the day together and, you know, try to fall asleep in bed and not have anger on our hearts there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Plus, now that I've met your mom again for the first time in over a decade, I'll just tell her if I'm really pissed off with you.
Yeah, and she'll definitely she'll lay the smack down on me.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah.
I get that sense.
Yeah. She's a wonderful woman, but heavy-handed. No.
Heavy. She really likes to lay in you with the brass knuckles.
That's right.
It's a full body weight follow through with that left hook.
That's right. That ham-fistedness.
But yeah, as I'm looking back at this, and you see that photo, and that really got people's attention.
Yeah.
And then there was this huge outcry of people around the world saying, we need to open our doors.
Right.
And that's where we're kind of wanting to get into today is yes or no.
Right.
Right. And to me, it is just that simple. Yes, you do. No, you don't.
Okay.
And the reason for giving either answer has so much value and input behind it that you really have to take a look at your motives, right? And for me, it really made me check my intentions.
Did it make you check yourself or wreck yourself?
I think I might have done both. Oh, man. I'm looking for a thing here. Here we go.
Oh, my God, you're dead. You're fired. You're never going to work here.
That's what you get.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness.
I love these soundboards. But the two main arguments that I've been seeing, and like even politically, because I mean that's the number one thing that kind of makes the news is politics.
Right.
And you've got this build up for the new presidential election coming up next year.
Yep.
And a lot of people are taking sides and giving their opinions, and a lot of people are rallying behind their guy.
Right.
Because this is the guy that's going to represent me. So if he's got the same viewpoint, they're going to do it. So the two things I see in society.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't really like to talk about it, but we're kind of controversial, so we're going to talk about it here. We're going to talk about it with anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it comes down to the value of human life.
This is true.
Is it worth bringing people in?
Yes.
And a lot of people take the economic standpoint. They're going to hurt the economy. And I'm actually going to hold off on that one.
Okay.
And so remind me, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
But the greatest argument against that I've heard from so many people, which may have validity, but I think there needs to be a different response than just saying no, is people say, okay, you know what? We can't have these people coming into our country.
Right.
Because what if there's ISIS members hiding in there? Or what if they want to take over with their Muslim religion and rules and they want to change our way of life? Or what if? But the biggest reason is fear of what extremist religious groups can do and sneak in with these people.
Now, I've got a really random question that might throw you off your tangent a bit, but what does it say about fear in the Bible? Does it say fear is not of God?
In not so many words, yeah. You know, and it also says that perfect love casts out all fear.
Okay,
and this type of love is not just something that can come from within as an emotional response. It's something that's supposed to come from a changed character response, like your whole entire being.
Right.
That something has changed the idea of love for you and the way that you've received love and experienced it.
Right.
So that you can pay it forward by loving other people with full compassion, by feeling such love and desire for them, you actually feel their pain alongside them.
So should you, before you said all that, should you have said spoiler alert? So, not knowing any of what you just said, because I cut you off on that one, what does that mean for the Syrian refugee crisis?
Oh, man, well, that's the biggest thing for me. Like, if people are viewing these people as people, I mean, we just said people 3 times.
Yeah.
And you're seeing value and validity in their story and their suffering and their journey of escaping from their own government trying to kill them.
Yep.
Watching their family and their children die horrible deaths due to gas weapons and illegal weapons and horrible, horrible things happening.
Okay.
And feeling completely unsafe all the time in your home, in your space, and fear for your family's life.
Yeah.
And fear from the coming oppression that could come from ISIS at any time.
Yep. And
you're running away. You're leaving everything, hoping that someone's going to pick up the slack for you, even though you have nothing to offer them in the short term, and say, here I am. I need someone to take me in.
Okay.
I have no earned. I have not earned this. I've not merited it. I have nothing to offer in exchange. This isn't even a barter system. This is just simply coming as you are, saying, I need someone to enter into my story to help me and save me.
Wow. Okay.
You know, and for me, obviously that's speaking to a very spiritual level and a spiritual need, because I see people, all people, have intrinsic value. Like, it doesn't matter what you are, what you've done, that all people matter. Right? And I see this, and I hear that argument. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That may be valid.
Right.
But the alternate argument on that point is simply saying that, yeah, okay, What if you have ISIS members sneaking in? What if you have extremists that want to take over and kill and maim in your country because you're letting hundreds and thousands and maybe millions of people into your country that you didn't have the day before, the weeks before?
Right.
Then guess what? Then you step up your efforts. You crack down on those people.
Right.
You got to say, okay, that's not going to cut it, but that's not going to fly here. You know, you want to do that, there's going to be consequences. If we suspect you of doing that, we're going to lock you up and take away your rights. I'm fine with that. If they start, like, pressing down on people they think are terrorists or are here to kill, maim, murder, destroy, and they're sneaking in one with every hundreds of thousands of genuine people who need help and value,
right.
I mean, then you got to take extra measures and steps to protect those people from the wolves that are sneaking into the flock with them.
Well, that's what the U.S. Patriot Act is, and a lot of people have a lot of issues with it because essentially they see it as a way of social or racial bias. You know, if I think that you look like a terrorist, if I think that you have an opportunity to become one, then I'm gonna search you, I'm gonna research you, I'm gonna tap your phone lines, and they have full laws like that in the U.S., but not in Canada. So them letting everyone in, which I'm not saying I do or don't agree with, I think that it's a good idea, but how do they, or do they just bite the bullet and deal with the political backlash of militant groups, religious groups, social groups, everything saying, well, you're just targeting these people. You let them in, and now you're just treating them just as bad as the people that are pushing them away, which inevitably will be what we would hear, even though realistically we aren't raping, pillaging, killing, murdering their families.
Slowly torturing, murdering. Yeah,
exactly.
So in reality, it's not that, but some people might say it for sure.
Yeah, because people always jump to the worst possible scenario, and they normally do get media attention because the loud ones, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, is what they say, right? So
even if that wheel is an idiot most times.
It's true. So I think the Canadian government is saying, well, if we let in this group of people out of our own goodness of our own hearts and we do what we need to, we're going to get a lot more political backlash down the road. Now, I'm not saying we have to avoid it because it's probably inevitable no matter what we do. You know, if we put them into camps, if we don't put them into camps, if we put them into houses, whatever it does, if we feed them, if we don't, it's all over the place. But I think they're picking their battles. And, in your mind, is it worthwhile to let in those millions of people just to have to deal with some politics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is the simple answer because I'm not a politician. And you know what? I never will be.
Right.
I don't have the stomach or the gumption or the patience for politics.
Right.
You know, and I see there's a lot of value in it. And obviously our system runs off of that. And I don't want to
go around,
Right. And I don't want to detract from anything that our government's saying or doing or the steps they're taking. But if those steps are taking such a length of time as to stop people's lives from being saved,
right,
I have a problem with that.
Right.
You know, and to me, it comes down to, again, it's simple. For me, it's black and white. It's people's lives need help.
Right.
And for me, it's like, okay, that's the call. What's the answer?
So I'm going to throw out another hypothetical that does not have a proper answer.
Okay.
And I hate to do this to you. I hate to be the thinker in this because it is the politics in this is fear-based. So me as a Canadian, you as a Canadian, other people listening as Canadians, they go, all right, so we let these people in. We open up ourselves to terrorist targeting.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we put a target on our back because we're helping out these refugees, these immigrants, these people getting help. You're still putting life at risk if you're either choosing to protect our people, or you're choosing to protect their people and then put targets on our back and still possibly not be able to protect those people.
Yeah.
Is like. I'm just going to say, I was going to ask you a question about it. From my point of view, that's just selfish. You know, that's just straight up selfish. I want to ask him, I want to say, what is, how do we avoid this or how do we do this? But straight up, that's just selfish thinking. Yeah. You know, it's like if you have any brothers or sisters, and I'm actually an only child, so this is ironic that I'm bringing this up. But, sometimes you have to do whatever you can to protect your blood, your family.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a target on your back, whether it's from random people, whether it's from, lots of different things that can come at you. But in terms and questions like that, you treat those people like family. And I think that we should be treating Syrian people like family also. If we're having to deal with terrorists and we're letting that be the deterrent for us doing or not doing something, unfortunately, the issue isn't the refugees or the politicians. The issue is still at the core the terrorist groups, which have to be dealt with in their own ways.
Right.
And we can't let them monger over us with fear and and control our lives every day, and whether we help or don't help people because of fear. It's just not practical. It's not how the world was built on. It's not the foundation of things. It's not the foundation of religious beliefs. I don't know any religion where straight up violence is, maybe there's some religions that I don't know that are underground or something like that, but the majority of religions are love your neighbor as yourself. That's a golden rule right there. Or in some way, treat them well, help them, protect them. So yeah, I think we just need to bite the bullet on that one.
I agree. You brought up something. I mean, the word that keeps coming up today seems to be fear.
Yes.
And if you've got a group whose goal in life is to kill everyone who's not like them,
right,
which is ISIS,
right,
I'll just point it on them. I'm not going to point at the religious thing or anything like that. But you look at this group who's demonstrated they are willing to kill by the thousands, women and children. No one is going to stop them.
Nope. And
they have no mercy. They have no love or compassion.
Right.
And they are willing to kill, and this is their main goal. I'm going to kill you if you're not like me.
Right.
Okay? And this is the result of some of that, or even the government system that the Syrian refugees are fleeing from.
Right.
We will kill you if you come against us. It's the same type of thing. The fear tactic is being acted upon to the point of, I don't just want to control you by fear, I'm going to eliminate you.
Right.
Right? Like you said, we're not fixing that problem, which is the problem in the first place. We're trying to treat the symptom because there's a need right now.
Right.
But I'm hoping that our system and our purpose is not just to sit back and wait.
Right.
Because this didn't work out in the 30s either.
No, of course not. And
when Nazi Germany swept over all of Europe, and it started off with Austria, they're like, well, you can have Austria. Okay. You got that. You pulled a fast one, old Adolf. But please no more, or we're going to have stern words for you.
Right.
And do you really think he was going to stop?
Yeah, why would he?
Why
would he? He had all the momentum going for him, and
he almost took over the world.
It's true. We always go back to World War II because that's a memorable one for a lot of us. But for a lot of people from other cultures, a lot of people understand that these types of things do happen almost every day. Mm-hmm. There's things that are happening in other countries, not even just third world countries, that are happening with genocides and attacks and refugees fleeing and.
It seems to be an ongoing story again and again and again and again and again and again. Hate.
Yeah.
Simple hate. That's all it is.
Yeah.
You're different. I hate you.
Right.
I have no qualms taking your life.
Right. Yeah, it's not a pretty thing, and we've had millions and millions of people, if not more than that, killed in societies. I can think of not just World War II, but think of the IRA, Catholics versus Protestants. And that's a head turner also. You look at just different places, different genocides. You look at Africa, you look at different tribes, you look at different, war leaders. It's just crazy, all the different things that happen, right? It's a little bit too consistent in humanity.
And that's the thing that just kind of bothers me. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm going to go on a bit of tangent. That's kind of an offshoot.
Okay.
But on that, like in the last 15 years, that hate being exemplified in bigger situations where people will kill other people or take their lives from them because they hate, or they're damaged, or they're broken, or whatever it may be, has just seemed to increase. I mean, even college or high school shootings has become a normal every month circumstance in the United States and Canada.
Right.
And I remember one of the first ones, right? Late 90s, Columbine.
Yeah.
I remember when that happened, and that still sits awful with me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that emotional response that comes when I'm thinking about stuff like that. But that's not ISIS, but that's still hate.
Yep.
And there's obviously a need that people aren't getting.
Right.
Right?
And what's that Edmund Burke quote? The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And is that the point that we're at right now in Canada? Is that, or maybe not all Canadians, obviously. There's Canadians helping.
I don't think
there's
we're
organizations that are there, but
I think that there's people willing.
Yep.
There's people that want that to just step in. And it's interesting because you see all these interviews with different military people, and we're not talking like just generals, colonels, or commanders of people. We're talking about the actual foot soldiers.
Right.
The quote-unquote grunts.
The front line.
These guys want to go in and end this because this is wrong.
Right.
Right. And when I hear that, I'm like, okay. Because I'm not a proponent of going to war for the sake of war, because unfortunately a lot of wars, in my opinion, are fought over selfish ambition. I can get something out of this. This isn't about justice.
Right.
And when the motives are impure, I don't care what good you do. If your heart's not in it and you're not doing it out of the best motivation, don't do it in anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a lot of times,
what about
that's
eating
politics.
eating ice cream? Sometimes I eat ice cream. I don't have the best motivations. I'm just like, you know what? I just want to eat ice cream. Is that okay?
You tell me.
I think so. I got to do a little bit of soul searching, but I'll figure it out.
Are you crazy?
No, but it's true.
Yeah.
I think this is good though. I like this.
Yeah.
It's a good chat. Good talk, Doug.
It is. It's interesting because see, I don't have much of an idea of what's going on over there.
No.
We
know what we see and what we're told.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and the system's gonna shape it a little bit differently for us, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I've seen the relief efforts and things like that, and it's interesting to see what's happening. I've heard everyone kind of make their pitch. Samaritan's Purse is doing stuff over there. They're also doing stuff in was it Nepal, where they just had their big thing, and they're going to have a 5-year plan.
Yep.
I've seen like a lot of things like that, and it just makes me wonder: is there one group that's going to pull it together and make it all work, or is it a united effort that we have to push forward and make something happen?
I would assume the latter. A united effort's going to make a big change.
But not a United Nations. That's different entirely.
No,
they're a little bit slow on things.
Man,
there's a lot of red tape with that.
That's good in theory as a title,
yeah,
but it doesn't work well.
Yeah.
Like you've got Israel saying if ISIS comes near us, we're going to take them out.
Right.
You've got Russia entering different countries with their military force, thinking, okay, well, we're going to help the Syrian government out. We're also going to take out the rebels for them.
Right.
And ISIS. So they've got their own political agenda, which is pretty evident because the world isn't stupid.
Yeah.
But you've got Russia saying, ISIS comes close, we're going to take you out too.
Right.
And historically, they're pretty good for that.
Yeah, Russians are pretty badass when it comes to tactical warfare.
I read a story, this is tangent, on Facebook, so it's got to be true.
Okay.
Oh, and
it must be.
It took me to a link on Wikipedia, so it's obviously getting better and better, more trustworthy.
This is like Edward Snowden stuff now. WikiLeaks.
In the 50s,
okay.
There was a high officer in the Russian military. I'm not even sure if they still call themselves the Red Army in the 50s. Technically, probably. They're still communist,
because
right?
there was still Cold War around that time.
That was before the fall of the wall.
And I have to take it off on a really quick side tangent here. Also, the wasn't the actual hockey team still called the Red Army at that time in the 50s?
Sure, that'll really work.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I think they were still called the Red Army. So there was a general, and what happened?
Yeah, he was high commander. I'm not sure if he was a general or what he was, but his family was kidnapped by a religious group of extremists, and they beheaded his wife and his child.
Oh, wow.
And sent pieces back. But this guy had pull, and Russia decided at that point, we're not going to screw around. So they spent, I think it was a couple years, tracking that guy down, and they kidnapped 20 of his family members and cut them to pieces, literally, and mailed those pieces back to him and the high officials saying, you want to F with us, we're gonna get even, and then some.
Wow.
So they took their tactics and turned it back on them, which isn't technically
eye for an eye.
Right, like, and for me, that doesn't sit well.
But
the
postage, like,
right.
How much is,
how
you pay the same for a head versus a hand,
rubles?
a foot. It's still got this 5 digits. Who knows what's going on?
Yes, this looks like nub. Looks like nub where Mom used to go and join. Yes, crack knuckles. Oh, you can't, cause I cut them off. One cookie. I don't know what happened there. My Russian turned to count. I don't.
It went all Count Chocula / Count Dracula.
Yeah. But I mean, that's the Russian mentality. That was the whole point of that story. Was that's how they do.
Right.
But you've only got 2 opposing nations who aren't allies saying, "You come against us, we'll end you."
Right.
So guess what? ISIS isn't stupid, so they only go so far.
Right.
But they'll keep spreading out against other paths of least resistance.
Right.
Right? Just like a moving body of water or anything else. It's going to find the easiest path to grow, to repopulate. And they're still, they're sparking an accord with people over here even.
Which says a lot that, people across the world they have an opinion about it.
Right? And I mean, there's obviously people that are needing something to fill some sort of value, purpose, worth, void in their lives.
Right.
And they'll do anything they need to a point where, hey, they need me, they want me. I think that I can be a part of this.
Right.
Right? It's like so many people I can't believe little Jimmy joined a gang. A street gang of all things.
Yeah.
Beat the crap out of him for his initiation. He's been dedicated because they showed him value and worth.
Right. He was part of something. He was brought into something.
He was told he had value. He was shown he had value. He was supported by people around him that had, to a degree, more compassion on him by entering into his story than anyone else in his life.
Yeah, actually showing attention. Yeah.
Right? So if you find a place where you can do something to you, even if it's a bad cause, but they want you, they support you, they invest in you. I get that.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, how could that person be such a demon or devil? I'm like, how could you not love that kid enough that this is his only outlet to find value and worth?
It's true.
And he becomes an agent of hate because that seems to be the only thing that's feeding into him. I mean, it really speaks to our failure as a society and a culture as well, to a degree.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, if we're looking at these Syrian refugees trying to live and survive with their families, and we're worried about us first, not their kids, because we don't know them and it's not our problem, and let's not get involved, well, then let's just bury our heads in the sand, because guess what? It'll never come to our door until it is.
Right. But we don't want to invite it. We just want to have it happen unexpectedly.
Right, because maybe we won't have to deal with it. Maybe our kids will. You know what I mean? Like, but it's, again, for me, it's a selfish mentality as far as I'm concerned.
For sure.
You know? And that makes me sick, because to me, again, people have worth.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And to me, it's so simple. Yes, let them in.
There's
so much red tape.
I once took a test online to see how many sixth graders I could beat up. One of the questions was, would you use a sixth grader as a weapon against other sixth graders? And I said yes. I don't remember what the point is, but something about human worth. I think there was a test like that too. You could test
something
your test.
about human worth.
You could test to see what your human worth was or your value was. It was a really pitiful test. I think it was on the same website. Anyways, what were you talking about again?
I was a real horse's ass.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to take that test. It might really make me do some soul searching.
I was able to beat up like 40 or 50 grade sixers because I would literally use them as weapons against each other. So it was good. It was good.
This could be a problem.
The soundboard is epic, man.
It is.
Every time we're going to get a new soundboard.
Yeah, I kind of want to see if we can find a Kermit the Frog one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sure. This website seems to have a lot, so we'll scroll through it.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I said I wanted to circle back to a different part of the refugee crisis. Now, I've got a quote here.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that after I'm done, we can just talk about it.
Okay.
Now, I'm hoping that I read it properly. I have this tendency that if I take a section from context and copy and paste it because it's something I want to highlight, and I look back over it later and I read it, it doesn't come across well.
We'll edit it out then.
Right. Like, burp, 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 and then we'll just start talking about it.
Yeah.
So here it goes. Leave the pause in case we need to edit.
Dramatic pause.
Refugees who manage to get that far typically, now we're talking about people who actually escape the country and get to the border of another country. Okay. They've escaped the danger. They're at a place where they can get help. It's not guaranteed yet. They typically register with the UN, the United Nations, and apply for permanent resettlement because you need to be recognized as a refugee, resettled in a safe place so you can actually restart your life because your identity is null and void.
Right, and people that don't understand, refugee is a status. It is something granted to you by that country's government. It's not something that just means you're fleeing from your home, you're a refugee. No, at that point, you're pretty much homeless. But to actually have a refugee be called officially a refugee, you need to be able to be accepted and signed off by the government of where you are staying and acknowledged.
Yeah, essentially, because if they don't acknowledge you as a refugee in their country, you're a nomad.
Right.
You essentially become an extra on Mad Max.
Yes.
Roaming the desert on a bike, looking for gasoline, women to repopulate with, and food.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm belittling the situation, but I'm making a point.
Yeah.
You actually lose your whole identity.
You do. You lose everything that makes you feel like you're a human being, and you go right back to basics. You know, joking aside, you go right back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yep.
You go back to your just basic needs.
Well, for sure, because you actually lose the right to work, to live, to exist in this country.
Even to live, like not live like as in live alive, but I mean
exist.
to have a place to put your head down at night.
Yeah.
You don't get a home.
Nope. You get to live on the outside of the borders, which we're going to physically enforce.
Yeah, we're going to guard
by military action.
Yeah, you will die if you cross that. You have no rights.
If that were me,
I'd be real pissed off.
Oh, good call. I like that. That was real smooth.
That's not too bad.
That wasn't bad at all.
That's not too bad.
You had that one planned, though, I feel.
I've been looking for it for a while.
Yeah.
Now, once they get to that point and they apply for resettlement, and the countries are deciding whether or not you're going to have the status or the ability to be classified for the status of refugee.
Yep.
After a wait of what is ideally, now this is in like perfect situation and conditions, ideally up to 24 months.
That's 2 years.
That's ideal that you are just simply existing.
Wow.
At the generosity of that country with no status. 24 months without the ability to work full-time, own your own home, have safety and security for you and your family, where at any moment they can come and get you and ship you back off to the hell that you decided to flee from. 24 months of living with no security, no peace of mind. 24 months. But sometimes far longer. Refugees receive then an invitation to resettle in a third country, maybe.
And when they show up at that country, does that country give them the same paperwork
It'll
and say,
probably be
well,
the same process,
choose
24
us
months.
or choose somebody else type of thing?
If we reject you, then we'll go to another option, and at that point, they probably just send you home.
Wow.
So, I mean, even if you flee your own country, you don't have a right to exist in another one, and that bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, I understand. Like, I think you brought up some good points. There is a lot of people here, and we don't want to, and even for me, like, I know I've been very one-sided on this. I care for just as much my neighbors, my country, my province, my city, and all the people in it as much as I do these other people. They still have value.
Of course.
And their opinions matter.
Yeah.
I may disagree. Like, you don't want to bring in the problems because you figure it's going to cause us more trouble in the long term. Okay. I hear that.
Yeah.
That doesn't change my opinion of we need to save people's lives.
Right.
But I hear you.
Right.
Now, if these people have, like, if different countries have that type of mentality as the majority, and they're denied for 24 months, teasing them with this freedom, this ability to live, and then you get shipped off back to the hell you came from, who do you think's waiting for you? Your government.
Yeah, definitely.
And they would have your name and your family's name on a list that you tried to flee. Do you really think that's going to sit well if you're from Syria and you are fleeing the country because of the government? Maybe you didn't fight with the rebels. Do you really think they're going to be like, oh, they weren't rebels, they were just fleeing for their own lives? No, they're going to see you as a threat to their reign.
Right.
And you come back, you're forced to come back. Guess what? You're on a list. You're dead.
Yeah.
And no one's going to care because you'll just be a name upon thousands of others who have just disappeared, been put into mass graves, and no one is going to give a shit.
Right.
And for me, I can't stand that.
Like a genocide.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
Except it's an organized one because an entire country and government system is funding it.
Right.
Because the government is so paranoid that people are going to take them out of power and take away their privilege, take away their life of extravagance when the people are starving and dying.
Right.
And begging and pleading, and your only response to that is fear and hatred, and you're going to take your own people out for fear of losing all of your own.
Right. Yeah.
Something's backwards here.
It's pretty messed up. It's pretty messed up.
It's very messed up.
And that's, I guess, that's the bottom line right there on what's going to be happening with things is if somebody doesn't do something, if countries don't do something, if they don't open up their borders, does that sit on them at the end of the day? Is that something that you have to have on your conscience?
Well, that's just it. For me, I don't want that. I don't want to have the knowledge of, man, if we just did something earlier.
Right.
Because how many people, and again, like we go back to World War II because it's a great teaching tool because there's similar circumstances. You had a man motivated for an entire nation to dominate.
Right.
And he did some smart things. He built the Volkswagen, the Hitler Mobile. He built the Autobahn. He built his country back up that was so in debt they could never pay it back, and he built them up into a superpower. But he also had hatred in his heart for a certain type of people. Blame them. He got the people motivated, rally behind him, and he tried to take over the world to exterminate different people and create the perfect race.
Yep.
And he came this close because people refused to step up and they chose to do nothing, like in that quote.
Yeah.
And he got so much momentum and so much power and so much everything that he needed that we just about all became blonde-haired, blue-eyed, German-speaking. I would be okay with that. That guy doesn't,
Yeah, he's a beast, that's for sure.
But I don't know, man. I don't know.
So,
that's not what I want.
I'm going to put a pause in here just because we can put this in or whatever, but do you know some ways that we can help? Is there outlets? Is there things that we can do?
Well, you said there were some different organizations and charities that were being responsive, like boots on the ground, bringing supplies and needs, like even clothing these refugees, giving food. So tell me about some of those ones.
Well, interestingly enough, you can't remain ignorant on this type of stuff. All I had to do was Google in Syrian crisis help.
And he literally did it right now on his cell phone while he's talking on a podcast. This guy's multitasking, and he did this.
Yeah, and literally every link, I can see World Vision, I can see UN refugees. I can see UNICEF, Oxfam, Save the Children, Care.org, Samaritan's Purse, Donate. There's a Rescue.org. There's places all over the world that you can do things for. And if your thing is giving money, then you can give money. You can donate. If your thing is going there and helping out, there's things like that you can do. You can teach. You can build. You can pray. There's so much that is possible. If you can't leave Canada, there are, again, prayer is a big thing. There's just getting informed is the first big step. Just knocked over my phone. Getting kind of passionate about this.
It's good though.
But just don't remain ignorant. When don't be like me at the beginning of this podcast where I didn't know what the hell was going on. Go ahead and find people and talk about it. And, do your fact checking. Don't believe everything you read.
That's right.
Try to find out about things like this because this is the world that we live in. And this is an important thing for all of us. And it'll affect how we do things and don't do things. And it's not, it's one of those things that's going to be in the news for a while. And do you want to have it on your conscience that you did or didn't do something, or that you did nothing? It's a big thing. And I think people remaining and doing nothing and, I'm not saying you have to go out and, sign a contract for 2 years and go out and build houses there. I'm not saying you have to give $1 million to these people. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying do something, because indifference and not doing anything in our lives is weak. It's plain to see that there are things that can be done for everything, every aspect, every group, every person out there, and just doing nothing is just weak. It's just a poor excuse. Everyone can do something. And I think that's what we want you to go out and do. We want you to go out and we want you to educate yourself and think about this. And, if you get some information from us, that's great. If you have any fact-checking for us, what if we said a fact that was wrong? Let us know. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah.
But these types of things, these are just what we researched and we found out. And we wanted to know. We wanted to find out. We didn't want to be in the dark about this. And when the next time somebody brings up, the Syrian crisis, we want to actually understand and realize the depth and severity of it, and how it's not, how it's not something that everyone can just sit back and do nothing about because it's on the other side of the world, because it's coming to our doorsteps, literally.
Yeah.
It's coming to our airports, it's coming to our countries, it's coming to
the need is here today.
It is. It's happening as we speak. It's not something that can be ignored anymore. And I guess from my point of view, sorry about getting so political,
No,
but that's the way that I think. And we'll have funny shows and we'll have serious shows and we'll have whatever we want. But these are the types of things that people should be thinking about and hearing.
One thing I really liked, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go for it, man.
You really talked about the empowerment for the individual, because so many people look at this, I can't fix this.
Right.
You know what? No, neither can we. But you do have options. And you empower them. Educate yourself. That's a step in the right direction, because then you can make an educated decision on who you want to be in the situation, what you want to do, how you want to approach it mentally, even emotionally, or as a response to your character. What do you want to do here?
Yeah.
If you want to give money, great. If you want to do nothing, at least then you can make a decision at that point for you. And I love that you brought that up, because I think that too many people talk themselves out of action because I can't personally fix it.
Exactly. And there's two trains of thought on that. It's a daunting task. It's like, you know what? Oh my goodness, I'm thinking about changing the world, and I can't do that. And it's like, actually, one step at a time, man. You can do things. You can adjust things. You can change things. And then there's, again, the indifferent side of things where I just don't care to do something. And that's just lame. That's just real lame. I can't get behind that. You guys can't get behind that. If people were indifferent about everything, it'd just be horrible.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Nice. Glad we got Hulk Hogan on our side.
Yeah, I think we covered everything I wanted to talk about it too. I mean, unless you have something else, I love your add-on at the end there too.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good closing thoughts for me, and just how I view this whole thing. I urge our listeners to go out and do something. And as summarization, it's important to educate yourself, find out about what it's about. Unfortunately, I got to do the plug, like, subscribe. Tell us what you want to hear about. Talk
Absolutely.
about. We got some comments before about things that we should talk about. We're probably going to get to those things. We're gonna move in directions where we do those things. But keep yourselves interested. Keep us interesting. Give us something that you want to hear.
And while Doug preps his final thoughts of the day, he's going to give us a nice little tasty treat. He's going to talk about something he's done, a type of, what was it called? You brought something to the table. You made some food.
Yeah.
You had what is the word for that when you have the piece of paper and it's got all the writing on how to make the food? You're killing me here.
It's called a recipe.
Yeah, that's the word. That's the word.
Hey, brother.
Wow, that was awful. So yeah, I'm gonna actually just plug us again. We really like doing this. We love the support. If you could like, subscribe, share, and then again, respond to the emails, respond to the Facebook post. If you want to hear about certain topics, certain things you want us to talk about, themes, we are so game. Let us know. We want to hear from you. Like, we love talking, hearing ourselves talk, blah, 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 blah. But this is stuff that we're actually passionate about. And if it's something that you're passionate about too, shoot us a message, man.
Yep, definitely. So this is just something I kind of wanted to throw in because I love cooking. So this is a recipe I made for Aaron and his wife.
Okay, whatever you think, brother. You're the boss.
That's right. That's what I like to hear. So I made a slow cooker teriyaki chicken.
Nom, 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 nom.
Very delicious. So real quick, what you need is some boneless chicken breasts or thighs. You want to slice those up into little bits. Now you can make your own soy sauce or your own teriyaki sauce with some sugar, some soy sauce, some apple cider vinegar, some ground ginger, some ground garlic, and a little bit of honey, or I use some agave nectar. And then you throw that into, a slow cooker for about 4 to 6 hours, and you just let it get super delicious. And then with about an hour left, what you want to do is you want to put in all your vegetables. So I had one of those Costco packs of frozen veggies, the stir-fry mix, and I just threw in, an hour worth of those right before we were about to serve up. And, it was awesome. I would totally recommend it. And it's so easy to do. You throw everything chicken sauce-wise before you go to work. Put it on the lowest setting. It's not going to burn your house down. It'll keep things warm. Get home, throw in those vegetables, and then you have yourself a solid meal. Easy to prep, easy to make. I'm sure there's more authentic Asian and teriyaki recipes out there to be heard, but this one's a real simple one. Tastes real good.
Real good.
Yeah, so, that's really all I wanted to throw in there. And, let me know if any of you guys try it, if you like it. Try it out with people that you like because, it's a fun little experiment. Plus, it's delicious.
I'm madly in love with you.
Oh, goodness.
Is that good?
Is that how you make a man blush when he's doing a podcast? Is that how it goes? But, those are all. That's all I've got to say, man. That's all I got to say. Again, DNA Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you want. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know if you agree or disagree with us. We're good either way. Try to keep the hate low. You're allowed to hate with disagreements, but don't hate the fact that, we're sexy, beautiful men, and we have voices that can put to sleep cougars, in the forest. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. God blessed us. It's a double-edged sword. We understand this. We live through this.
It's a gift and a curse.
Yeah, we have to live day to day. We put our pants on one leg at a time, just like you, but when we narrate ourselves doing it, it just sounds way better. So, yeah.
Like, share, subscribe, and again, message us with themes, topics, anything you want us to talk about, or even your feedback. We'd appreciate it.
What's the email address they can send to also?
You set me up for failure here.
Oh,
it's podcastdna@gmail.com.
Okay.
Podcast, lowercase, one word. Podcastdna@gmail.com.
And just to verify, that's DNA as in 3 letters, not D and A.
DNN as in Niger.
Niger.
Doug and Niger Aaron. Doug Niger Aaron. That was awful. Podcast Doug Niger Aaron @gmail.com. Don't type out the word, just type out the letters. Thank you very much.
I pity the fool. I pity your mama. I pity your mama's fool.